What do you do when life is colliding with your assignment in that season? Because life for me was surely colliding with these classes. It was very difficult to get through this concussion, regardless of the medicines, regardless of what I was trying to do. As a matter of fact, trying to get through my classes made my concussion symptoms worse. There were often times where I couldn't remember what I was talking about from one moment to the next. But what do you do when your life is colliding with that assignment?
Uh, uh, wake up, it's time to activate. Wake up, it's time to activate. You know there is more that God has in store. You've been so used to hiding and used to inviting the fear, guilt, and doubting that keeps you from thriving. But wake up, it's time to activate it. Wake up, it's time to activate it. Activate your destiny. Time to activate it.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Activate Your Destiny podcast. I am your host, Destiny Faith McCoy, and we are continuing this series that we started last week. We talked about when God gives you the grace for you to grow in your current season and what that actually feels like when you're not sure of where you're going. Now, this week, I'm going to ask you a very important question. How strong is your faith? I asked that because mine was definitely tested, and we're going to talk about that with the next frame on my wall of evidence. I'm going to make a really long story short. I eventually realized that through temp jobs, being a paralegal was something that I enjoyed doing. Now, I wanted to make sure that I was qualified for the permanent positions that I was reaching for, so I applied to Liberty University's paralegal certificate program. Now, about a week before classes start, both of my girls, I have two kids at this time, and I are headed to pick up my husband from work, where we are T-boned at an intersection. Now, thank God that my girls walked away unbothered, but I walked away with quite a few sprains and a concussion that caused me to go to doctor's appointment after doctor's appointment, personal training appointment after personal training appointment. And over again, my doctors told me to put my classes on hold until I was fully recovered. Now, I didn't feel like I was supposed to stop. I'm not saying that I went into deep fasting and praying over the solution. I just did not feel like I was supposed to stop my classes. I pushed through. Now, I have another question for you. What do you do when life is colliding with your assignment in that season? Because life for me was surely colliding with these classes. It was very difficult to get through this concussion, regardless of the medicines, regardless of what I was trying to do. As a matter of fact, trying to get through my classes made my concussion symptoms worse. There were often times where I couldn't remember what I was talking about from one moment to the next. Having migraines consistently, watching TV or being in the room with any type of light sent my brain into a frenzy. But what do you do when your life is colliding with that assignment? In this moment where my doctor is telling me that I should probably put my classes on hold, I had a decision to make. I had a choice. Do I stop or do I trust that God has me covered? If you look back in your story, what parts of that were you able to push through and believe that God had you covered? Our verse for today is going to be faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. I hoped that I would finish my certificate program so that I could continue being a paralegal in a permanent position as I was trying to help provide for our family. That is what I was hoping for, but the evidence was saying the complete opposite. The evidence was saying, Des, close the laptop. None of what you are doing right now is making sense, especially when you are dealing with legal terms and jargon. It doesn't make sense on a good day. So it definitely was not really making sense as I was going through this program. Looking back, I realized that I had to have some strong faith in order to keep believing that God was going to get me through this very, very difficult season. My faith is what helped me when I was trying to finish assignments with a massive migraine, when I was taking exams and couldn't remember anything that I learned. But what I did learn was how to pray. Before I submitted an assignment and before I even began, I learned to say, God, you're going to have to help me. You're going to have to remind me of what I am learning. You're going to have to help me understand this particular assignment, what I am reading, what my instructors are trying to teach me. And not only that, you're going to have to help me understand why I'm in this predicament in the first place. See, the part of the story that I don't actually talk about often is that we never got to the bottom of that accident. The guy who ran into us never took credit for it. And because I could not remember anything prior to the accident, I did not have a case. So, on top of dealing with healing, my classes, being a mom, being a wife, I also had to deal with the attorneys and the police and everything that was going on to get to the bottom of this car accident. To this day, it has not been resolved. But what I can say is that my faith in God grew a whole lot more. Not only did my faith grow, I was able to finish the program. Not only did I finish the program, I finished with being on the dean's list. For the first time in my entire college career, I finished on the dean's list. My grades were better in this scenario than they were when I was perfectly fine in studying things that I thought I was interested in. To me, that says a lot. That says that God was with me and showing up in that same grace and mercy the entire time. That was nobody but God Himself. The moral of this story is that faith is not just pushing through. It's also about knowing when to pivot, when to lean on God, and when to stop trying to be in control of the situation. It's about understanding fully to trust in the God that you serve, that He's going to be able to get you through this tough season. I can now say when I get into a difficult situation that if God was able to bring me through that, how much more can He get me through? Faith in God is also believing that God is with you before you can actually see that He is there. So I encourage you not to give up. Keep going, keep believing, because I am evidence that God will give you the grace and mercy to do what He is calling you to do. We're going to continue to talk about this next week as we continue the series on growth, grace, and obedience. I will see you guys next Wednesday.